Hello, everybody. Welcome to On the Back Hash, where we talk about all things specialty arts. It's been a minute.
I got something real quick. I gotta say something.
Oh, starting
What
out
happened to Will's? What happened to Will's antics at the beginning? What has happened, man? Are you tapped out? Like,
I don't know what y'all are talking about. There's no video proof or anything to say that I've done anything.
It's called from Instagram. This is real.
For real.
He saves it for the end.
He does. Yeah. I don't know. It kind of shifts. You do something, and then Chris will do something, and then Jack does that. But welcome to episode 20 of On the Back Hash, where we talk about all things specialty arts.
It's fine.
Dude, it is, like you said, it's been a minute.
It has been
a minute, dude. Dang.
My name is Cedric, joined with Zach and William and Chris. We got the full crew, and our special guest of the evening, Mr. Terry Sanders.
Woo woo.
Let's go.
So we got him on. We're gonna pick his brain about a few things, and then I don't know. Who knows what's gonna happen, because it's been a minute since all five of us have been together.
How's everyone's Thanksgiving? How about that?
I'm still asleep from all the turkey.
I made my first turkey this year.
Yeah.
Got that itis.
I'm a fan of any casserole. If it's covered in cheese or the ingredients starts with a stick of butter or a block of cream cheese, like, I'm probably going to eat it. But I think I need to eat a salad for a few days.
Listen,
it's been
a lot of people in other places, man. Some people don't even know what a casserole is. They've never seen
blasphemy.
Is that a Southern thing?
Right.
Is that like
I've been saying it for a while. I was like, it's got to be a Southern thing. Because I've been seeing it for like, what are y'all talking about? It's just like I made the post a while back. I was like, man, I ain't found greens up here in I don't know how long. I went to 3 or 4 stores before I could even find greens, and most of
they
them
got different kind of greens up there.
No, it ain't even got different kind. They barely got them in the can. Like, it's like they don't even have them in the can.
And you're desperate if you're looking for it in a can, like,
bro. Yeah, that's the level of desperation it came to. I was like, no. The best they had is Glory. That's the best I found. It was if other than that, I would have drove over some odd hours to Bellevue or close past Seattle somewhere just to even try to find something. The further south I go, I understand the more I find, basically. So it's basically saying, y'all came close to me moving out of here, because that was almost a deal breaker. I got greens up here.
It wasn't the air conditioning; it was the greens.
It's not the AC.
That's wow,
man.
The casserole makes sense though. I feel like that was probably a dish made back in the day for like poor families and stuff like that, where you just threw whatever you had in the cupboard.
So what was weird? So I have a family, like my mom's side lives in Pennsylvania, and then we live here. We're the South. That pretty much that's what we are. But I had green bean casserole in the South versus green bean casserole in the North.
Get that out of here.
No. It's South is where it's at, man. I'm sorry. If you live in the North, you need to come down. You got to learn some spices, man. That's all I'm going to say. But
Terrence, you enjoy your Thanksgiving with family and friends?
Yeah, man, everything's been great. I have loved, all the family that came in town. I had my nephew stay with me. He's in college down at FAMU, Florida A&M University, marching in their band. He stayed with us for the holidays. It was interesting being around a college student, and then his younger brother also stayed a night or two with us. So it's been fun. Talking about the spices there, I had a coworker when I was leaving the last day of work. I said, "Hey, enjoy your Thanksgiving." She said, "Well, I'm gonna enjoy it, but I'm going to my boyfriend's family, and they don't cook like my family." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I won't have any collard greens. I won't have any mac and cheese." She said, "The food will be all right, but I'm just not looking forward to it." I said, "Well, I feel sorry for you, because I'm getting ready to leave." And I need one of those memes right now that says, you know how they put those memes up, say 5 days marked safe from a hurricane or whatever.
Yeah.
I need one 5 days still not safe from Turkey.
Yeah.
So I have one of those in my classroom, and it's days since I forgot to post my attendance. And I got up to 40. I got up to 42 days, and then I missed it. And then it's been like a 2 or 3 day span, and I miss it again.
Yeah,
like I just can't get back on the horse.
Dude, that's the most dreaded
bad.
phone call in all of teacher history. When it's like,
I don't even get
like
phone calls.
8:05.
She just sends me a text message, and all it says is like the waving emoji, or it's like a GIF saying like "hello," and I'm like, oh, like I just know I forgot.
The worst,
because,
man.
like, when I see the text from April, I know.
Well, I probably won't do mine tomorrow, so there we go.
I'll definitely forget. Yeah.
It's just a habit. Plus, it's concert season, so there we go. All right. So we're going to get into the conversation, let people get to know Terry a little bit better and pick his brain. So, Terry, why don't you start about just telling us about yourself, about your background, and all of the things. Well, I don't know about all the things because it'll be a 4-hour podcast, but some of the things that you've accomplished in your career in the pageant yours.
Well, I always like to keep it brief because I don't have to offend anybody. You know, when they say, well, make sure you thank everybody, and then I leave 10 families out and they're all mad at me. But we're talking about myself. I can leave out as much as I want to, and I'm not going to be mad. But I have been a part and doing this activity since early as I can remember. You know, if I think about it real hard, I probably started the marching arts when I was in like grade school because I had an older brother who was marching and in the middle school band. And we were one of those families who weren't rich, we weren't poor, we were just maintaining. But the musical instruments that we had in the family is what you were allowed to play. And my brother was already playing drums, and I really didn't want to follow behind him. I did, but I didn't want to let him know that, you know, that brother jealousy. So my mom said, you can play clarinet. We got a clarinet. I said, okay, I'll try that. So I played clarinet through middle school and in high school as well. But the thing was, I had a drum set in my bedroom. Me and my brother shared a room. We had a drum set from my age of 7 on up through high school. I always had a drum set, so I knew how to play. And one day, my high school band director, who of course was my brother's high school band director, said, hey, we need a bass drummer. You think you could play bass drum? Of course, none of them knew that I could play drums, so I played bass drum one year, tenors the next, and then I was snare the next 2 years and section leader. But I still played clarinet in the symphonic band, and I was like third chair. So I was pretty good because, you know, anything I'm doing, I'm not going to try to suck at it. I'm going to be good at it. And from there, we actually had an indoor color guard my senior year, and it was conglomeration of 3 high schools. It was like an independent A group before independent A existed. But I was a manager for the color guard, and my girlfriend was on rifle, but the fact that I could travel to all these different places, sleep on gym floors with 25 other females, I was in.
All right.
So I was managing for the guard. You know, I got the rifles and stuff, helped fold the floor and all that good stuff, me and another dude. And we went to WGI my senior year. It was in Cape Cod, Connecticut, up in Boston. I'm sorry, Massachusetts, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And cold as all get out. The group was picked to medal, but they had the finals in a hockey arena. And if you've ever been to a hockey arena, you know the lights hang really low. Freaked our girls out because we from the South. We never played no damn hockey, ain't been in no hockey rink. So they had down cardboard. Cardboard was the floor. Squares of cardboard, and they put down pink duct tape.
Wow.
The run just went all to hell. They dropped more than they've ever dropped. We ended up in 6th place, 10th of a point out of finals. But they had a great year, and I really enjoyed being around the activity. Seeing Quasar and some of those other groups who were like Santa Clara Vanguard, Phantom Regiment, all the DCI groups had color guards at that time. So it was my touch of getting into that activity without marching. Went to school at Troy University, marched in their band for 4 years, marched snare there, played in the symphonic band there, but I started to cheat. I actually played contrabass clarinet my last 2 years, because all I wanted to do was oom-pop. Got tired of working on all them damn runs.
I know it.
So I switched over to contrabass. And then 1 year I marched with the Florida Wave Drum and Bugle Corps down in Miami, Florida. Marched with them for 1 year. Tried out for Southwind, made that, but didn't go back. My mom was like, this money running short. I don't know where it's going to come from, but if you want to go to school next semester, you're not going to do DCI this summer. So I didn't get to march with Southwind. Went to Spirit. Tried out with Spirit where Tom Float was there. Made the first cut, same thing. We don't have the money. Sorry, babe. One of my biggest regrets, as far as DCI is concerned, I have an aunt, or had an aunt, who lived in Concord, California. So you know where this is going.
Okay.
She said, Harry,
Okay.
I live 5 minutes away from the Blue Devils bingo facility and rehearsal facility. You can come stay with me for the summer, and you can march the Blue Devils. What did I say? Nah. I taught about 6 summer camps to make money to go back to school the next semester. So I made about $3,000 teaching summer camps. So it was a choice of, do I make money or do I go march the Devils and have my aunt take care of me and pay for everything? I should have went and marched the Devils in hindsight, but I didn't. So Florida Wave was my only DCI experience. Started teaching in Pensacola. Like I said, everybody was having me teach their camps and whatnot. But then this one band director said, look, we're going to pay you these zeros and you're going to teach us only. And I said, okay, I'll agree to these zeros. And that was at Escambia High School. And that's been about 30-something years ago. And I stayed there for quite a while. Built what I think was, a pretty good program, pretty competitive program. Loved my time there, loved the kids, loved the parents, the whole thing. WGI came along in 97, I think it was our first year going to Dayton. And we were 13, didn't make A finals because they only took 12 at that time. And went back the next year, and then it was on from there on. Like I was talking with Cedric earlier, once the kids and the parents got that bug of what it's like to compete at that level and seeing groups from Massachusetts, California, New York, everywhere, and not just the local groups. They got that soccer mom bug, and it was off to the races from there. Been a part of PAS since 92, Percussive Arts Society. Have been working with them, doing clinics, whatnot. Did my own clinic, Day of Percussion in Pensacola, which grew to be phenomenal in 20-year span. We ran that for 20 years. We'd average 300 kids a clinic for our Day of Percussion, and loved that. We got to work with people like Scott Johnson, Mike McIntosh, Drew Tucker, just a whole list of Jeff Prosper, a whole list of clinicians came in to work with the kids, and it was always nice because I always wanted to learn from them. If I could get one snippet of what they were putting down, I felt like it made me a better teacher. And since then, after competing with WGI for 22 years, and one of my personal claim to fame that I like to tell people about, 22 years of going to WGI finals, we never got a penalty. And I know that's not a trophy or anything. But
that should be a trophy.
Yeah, that speaks to the preparedness of what we did before we got on the truck. And that's just programming. That's just how you program. Because I see people, I saw some groups lose medals. I saw groups not make finals this last year because of penalties. Just because they didn't prepare on how to bring stuff on the floor and plug it in and do their show. So, but 22 years of competing with WGI. The only year we didn't go to WGI from 97 to 2019 was 2004, the year it was in San Diego. And we should have went that year because we might have medaled in world class. That was the year I did a show called 4 Little Girls. And it's about the 4 little girls that were killed in the Birmingham church bombing. Extremely strong show. Had a lot of people crying. A lot of people loved that show. I loved that show. It was one of those punch you in the gut shows. where the programming was centered around these girls having a great time and just going to Sunday school. They were dressed up, and then we dropped that bomb on everybody, and they were like, damn. So, yeah, that was a fun year. But working now with WGI, I'm on the steering committee for the first time, someplace I've always wanted to be because I get to watch videos and decide who is going to be promoted and not be promoted. I'm on that committee. Judging for WGI, something I knew that I wanted to do in my later years. I'm happy to be doing that. It has been a total blast. I'm doing judge training and judge clinics all across the country. I fly out to Arizona Friday to do their clinic. I did clinic.
Wait, your judges are trained? Sorry.
Well,
sorry.
That's why I'm trying to do it a little bit different. Not the old stodgy way of this is the sheets and this is the number and this. No, I am totally different as a judge as well. And this is something we've said in the advisory board meetings forever, is that the activity won't get to the next level until the people who have been teaching the activity start judging the activity. So I may be the first of that wave, hopefully to come, where more people start judging who have actually done the activity, because it makes a huge difference. From an empathy standpoint and from a design standpoint, from a connection standpoint, and from a standpoint that you should never sit where, I don't want to get on the high horse, but you should never sit there and say, it's not for you to get. But we'll talk about that later. But anyway, working with Progressive Arts Society Diversity and WGI Diversity Inclusion Committee as well, doing some great things there. We have a scholarship now for underserved minority groups. And it's not about their GPA, it's about their journey and what they've done this far in the activity. Being able to submit a video, a story time, as you would have it like on TikTok, of what their life has been like because of the marching arts, how it's changed them, and give them an opportunity to possibly pay for their dues or possibly start a community drumline, whatever they want to do with the award. The diversity community at PAS did a great job this year of having 3 women speakers. 3 African-American women speakers had a say at PASIC this year. It was a great, well-attended forum. And I learned a lot about a lot of musicians I did not know about who were women and musicians. So that's where I am in the arc of my life right now, trying to give back as much as possible. I went to dinner with 4 young band directors and percussion instructors from Mississippi. They said they'd always see me on Facebook and they wanted to take me out to dinner. So I'm like, is there going to be beer? And they were like, yeah. So sat with them, chopped it up.
All right.
I'm giving them some consultation on, uniforms and stuff like that. Just stuff that at this point, I have no secrets. When I was competing, I had a box of secrets that I couldn't tell anybody. But now it's like, what I know, you know. So I'm trying to help the next generation of instructors and directors and admin, everyone, to have a better experience marching, concert, everything.
That's awesome. I can attest to, I think after a conversation that we had a while back, the way that I thought about shows and how I design my shows and show topics has shifted ever since we had that conversation. And I think my kids appreciate those things because, their claim to fame is not that the fact that they're good or that they're talented, is that they're different. And people appreciate them for being different and doing different things. So, yeah. So you alluded to you being on the diversity committee, and I know WGI has been working on that actually the past couple of years. But tell me about like the behind the scenes of like how they got started and what ultimately the end game for that is for WGI.
Well, I tell you, the way it got started is exactly what we're doing right now. And it was during the pandemic when everything was shut down and people had time on their hands. So a lot of conversations started. And one of the conversations that I got into was that when we get out of this pandemic, we should be better than we were before. If we spend 2 years just sitting on our hands, then we ain't worth a damn as humans if we don't try to be better individually and collectively. And I had a conversation with a guy named Fred Feeney, who is one of the executive board members for WGI. And he was having a conversation with Rodney Bailey, and I think you guys might know Rodney Bailey, about diversity in WGI, because it was time for, let's say, companies or organizations to kind of reflect on where they were, because you weren't having competition. So let's look at how we can be better. And one of the conversations that he and Rodney was having was about more inclusion. So he called me up because I'm more on the percussion side and Rodney's on the guard side. So we talked about it, and he said, you know what, I think I'm going to have you guys be an adjunct committee for WGI. And we roped in like 5 other individuals, and we had our first meeting. And when we did, we knew, it's like when you're in the lot and your group's playing, and you like, damn, they on one today. And you just know it, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to ruin it. Well, that's how the meeting was. The meeting was so good that we knew that we were on to something special. Just the chemistry of the group, the makeup of the group, the diversity of the group, that we decided we wanted this to be a permanent inclusion for WGI. And who on the executive board was going to say, no, we should not have diversity? No, nobody can say that. So it blossomed from there, from a phone call, and it became a committee. And we just recently changed it to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have our own web page on the WGI website now. That's something I screamed about. And one of the things I really love about the committee is that, and Cedric and William both know me well, when I get up on my soapbox, you either going to run or you going to listen. And they let me go off. I mean, they let me go off on a tangent. I'm dropping F-bombs about we need to do this and do that.
I knew it was there.
Yeah, and nobody's clutching their pearls like, oh my God, this black man has gone crazy. You know, they're all like, yeah, bring it, man. Let's get it on paper. Let's get it done. And
it's been a passion and not a threat.
Huh?
Yeah, that right there.
It's all this passion and not a threat.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And I guess that's why they let me ran on, because that's the word that we use, is passion. But we've done some really good things, and the committee has done some great things, and we're going to do more. And I encourage anyone, and I'm trying to get them to do this now, to where we can have open town hall meetings via Zoom or via whatever platform, where people can express what they feel WGI could do better, or what could be stronger, what is weak that we could make stronger. Because a lot of times I think the voices are so soft, because everybody doesn't know who Terry Sanders is, to email him and say, hey man, this is a problem and maybe you can work it out with WGI. But I'm trying to get that conversation started now, to where we can get more input from the public on what do they think WGI can do to be better. And of course, you're going to get your crazy ones in there, you know. Everybody should get in free. Dog, we ain't doing that.
Do you want to have WGI? Like, what are you doing?
Stupid.
We should get free T-shirts. Nah, that ain't happening.
For
either,
what?
So. But hopefully, we get some ideas of things that maybe we hadn't thought about. And one thing I really love is the FLP. It's called Future Leaders Program. This is another thing we came up during the pandemic, where we will take teenagers or people under the age of 21. Hold on. Under the age of 21, I got a cat in here too, Cedric. He's bothering me. But future leaders will apply for this program, and it's a 3-year term that they serve. And they come up with different projects on what they think could be a great addition to WGI from a young person's perspective. And man, it has been wonderful. Because the first day we met, I said, I want each of you to write down 5 things that you think could make WGI better right now. And that turned into like 20 projects immediately. So we narrowed it down to the top 5, and they presented them to the exec board. So each year we have this conversation from a young person's perspective. How do you feel WGI could be better? So again, opening that conversation to more communication, so the old stodgy folks who are in charge can hear that these young people have a different idea on what they think we should be doing. Maybe we don't do it.
Wow, what a concept.
Yeah. Maybe we don't do it, but at least you give people a chance to be heard, and you never know what nugget you might pick up. You never know.
True.
But yeah, you're right. What a concept. Yeah,
I say that's. I mean, you think about.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was like, it sounds like a no-brainer to me to have something like this in WGI with how, the culture, the cultural makeup of WGI and, of the martial arts in a broader sense, to have stuff like this because, you got to have everyone's voice heard no matter what. And I think that future leader program is awesome. I think that's a great idea to get the young voices heard where they may be heard.
Oh, no.
Now cut him out.
Riverside didn't want to hear your voice.
Oh, man. It happens.
Yeah.
But,
and that was my thing.
Nothing's going to beat Zach's, though.
I love
Oh,
I love being able to talk to the young people and ask them questions that I know that they want to express, but they don't know how to start that conversation. So I kind of lead them in and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? And tell me some things. What you think?" And they'll talk. But it's been great.
Because you got to think, and this goes for just society in general. But you got a bunch of older people who are in activity, making choices for the people who are actually doing the activity.
Right.
So it makes sense for the people that are, actually participating or will choose to be participating or even leading groups later on to be making those decisions. Because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with it. So,
yep. And
like
I said, I'm not the youngest person on any of these committees, but sometimes I'm the only one champion.
Welcome back.
Hey, let's listen to the younger voice and see what they say.
Yep.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't either. That was weird.
Sorry about that.
Riverside said, "No, Chris,
they were done. Like, you are not speaking today. Shut that mouth."
They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it.
I don't know what all you heard what I said, but
you was about to drop a bomb and then you cut out. But
man,
but kind of going along with that, then, what do you think? What's the next thing for WGI or DCI? Like, what do you think is going to become like either the next trend or the thing that needs to happen for it to continue to grow? Kind of where do you see the future going for the pageantry arts in general?
With DCI, man, I'm afraid for the next 10 years the way gas and diesel is going. And if we get another strike of another strand of some type of weird COVID that puts a kibosh on hotels and gyms and stuff, it's hard for DCI to find housing now. So I'm just afraid that there's already been like 2 or 3 open class corps that have folded for this year because they just can't budget to make it happen, So
it's already happened in DCI.
Yeah. I know that people like the Blue Devils, they going if DCI folds, the Blue Devils still going to be around. They got so much corporate money influx into that program that they're going to do, parades and community shows and training. They'll morph into something else, blast, something like that. They'll do something. But the people who don't have that luxury, I'm afraid for DCI just because of the rising cost. And, the staffs are getting bigger, which is more money. The travel is getting more expensive. So I'm just worried that we can maintain it for another 10 years. I don't think the art form will go away, but maybe it becomes more regional than it does national. The way it started, drum corps was for the community. It was sort of like Boy Scouts almost. It was a neighborhood thing. And maybe that's what happens to where it's been more regional, and then you have your one national championships that's somewhere. But you don't have like the Blue Devils tracking from California all the way through Kansas and all that, getting up to Indiana, and then the other corps as well. But WGI, I see it being sustained very strongly because of the scholastic portion. It's almost like cheer. You know, the cheer championship is not going away on ESPN or what's that group, Varsity, that has it. Yeah, that's not going away. That's too much of a money thing. It's like college football. It's not going away. When the shutdown happened, the one thing that didn't stop was college football. You know, they did shorten one season, but they were going to play. You know, Friday night football at the high school. If you're going to play, band can't come, but the football team go out there and spit and bleed on each other. But the band can't come.
Right.
Really?
Oh, I think the dumbest thing was when they eliminated tip-offs in basketball, but they can beat and bang in the post, but they can't jump ball to start the game. We're going to flip a coin.
We're going to do a coin flip, but then you can breathe in each other's mouths for the rest of the game. Just 2 inches away. Not the jump.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Make it make sense, people.
Yeah, but monetarily, I think WGI will be just fine because of the scholastic input. The independents will exist because the scholastic exists. So I think that model is going to work. And then it's a weekend gig. You know, it's not a whole summer gig. You can have an independent group that does 1 regional and 2 local shows in Dayton. And that's like four shows, you know, and that's a successful season if they make finals.
Season, I was just about to say.
Yeah, that's a whole season. So DCI is totally different from that model. You got to feed kids every day. You're doing all days, 2 weeks or 3 weeks where you got to find somewhere to house them. It's a whole animal. So WGI, I think. Go ahead.
Like for DCI, if they're trying to cut back costs, some of the things that I think make sense, and I know that the activity is involved to include this, but having to do a new uniform or costume every year, that's a lot of money. Getting a new line of horns and percussion instruments every year, that's a lot of money. Now, I know a lot of that comes from sponsorships and things like that too, but it's like maybe you could use them for 2 years.
Yeah, Rosewood.
And cut some of that corner off, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of the financial strife that DCI has, they kind of put on themselves.
Yeah, I was about to say same thing.
With all of the new design elements, and like you said, staffs are getting bigger, and you know, with that, it's got to come from somewhere. You know, at some point, someone's going to have to give. And like, what are you gonna give up? You either have to give up some of the design elements and not get a new uniform every year and all that good stuff. You're either cut some of the staff, you're going to have to cut tours short, and then ultimately, if the core is all about giving the kids an experience, which one of those things is going to be least aversive to the kids' experience? So, you know, we haven't really thought about it from a financial standpoint, but
you look at the lot.
Think about.
Like I think the devs have 14 vehicles that they travel with, and I keep going back to the devs because they're the leader, one of the leaders in the activity, but. Just about every corps, top 12, has at least 2 semis. At least.
And a food truck.
Charter buses, 3 or 4. And then the staff has a RV, 2 RVs sometimes.
Yeah.
So, it's
when I marched, the staff was in a whole charter by themselves.
Yeah, that's a lot of gas. So, I hope it's sustainable, but I don't know. I don't know. Kids are going to end up paying $6,000 to march. Easy.
Yeah.
Some of them
we had that question. We talked about that. It's been a month or so ago about that.
I know what you're talking about.
We brought the whole idea of like regional, like it going more regional because of that kind of idea. Because then there's when we talk about Vanguard cadets. Decided not to come out for this year. And we talked about like what that shaped up. I mean, I think you're right where he's saying like I think regionalization is going to be if they're wanting to keep the way it's going to be monetarily wise with the design of the show and the staff and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have to do something to cut corners, and that's one way. And you know maybe your top 8 or top 12 are still going to do the more national tour, but I can see a lot more just I'm going to go out and. My local show is more like what Jersey Sheriff does or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
But it is kind of
Go to
big
Worlds.
split, man, because your West Coast groups, man, they stay on this side until when they got to go to Texas or something like
San
that.
Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio.
Because they
Yeah,
stay
San Antonio's first one.
pretty much the whole season on this whole side.
Yeah, they
'Cause
stay in
'cause
California.
we had a podcast on that. Yeah, because we found out some shows that I didn't even know existed on this side of the of DCI. I was like, when did they have shows here? So, you know,
and to pay for a semi to drive from Southern California to Indianapolis,
man, bro, I'm trying to tell you. That ain't even fun.
Yeah, we all love the activity, and I hope it can sustain. But I know some groups are struggling. Every corps that has folded, that has ever been in existence, has never folded due to lack of membership. Never folded due to lack of auditionees. It's always been money. Always. Every corps that has folded, from Suncoast Sound, what's the group? Indiana Star, the Bridgeman, all those groups that aren't around anymore. It was all financial. Magic of Orlando.
Magic of Orlando. I was just going to say them too.
Stories of corps not being able to eat and having to eat on other people's food truck because they ran out of food. That's the adults setting it up for the kids right there. But it was not because they had 30 mellophones quit one year. That didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one positive is the activity is growing. I feel like in terms of popularity and fans, and like I feel like World Championships every year, more people are coming out and spending that weekend in Indy. And I don't know if any of the money from ticket sales and things go towards the corps, but maybe with that attendance improving each year, that can help financially with some of these corps. And that also brings more people to the Subi booth and that stuff too.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's definitely...
And that's been a topic that has been discussed a lot, and it's with any subculture. It's like if I go to the county courthouse and say, "Hey, I'm going to a DCI show tonight. Anybody want to come with me?" If they're not a musician, if they don't know what drum corps is, it's a subculture. It's like pickleball right now. It's growing, but everybody don't know what pickleball is. So we're a subculture that primarily feeds itself. A lot of those people in the stands are former corps members, or former instructors, or band directors bringing their kids. Want to take you to a show, but it's not just the average everyday citizen ever attending a drum corps show like they would go hear the opera. We're going to go to the opera tonight, or we're going to go listen to the symphony play tonight. They'll go listen to the symphony, but they won't just come to a DCI show. So hopefully, since COVID is kind of on the down, the numbers go up in attendance all over this year. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Be a nice addition to what's going on, because the product has not suffered at all. Is this, will it be sustainable to do so with all of the real world things that are going on around it? So we want to kind of tap your brain a little bit, talk about show design, and of course you've been on the instructor side of it, and now you're on the judging side of it. Just kind of, what are your thought processes? What were your thought processes as an instructor, and now, what do you see maybe mistakes that instructors are making in their design, or from a judge's standpoint, kind of how you look at things? I know that's a very wide open question, but
well, as an instructor, I didn't get better as an instructor until I started judging. It really made me be more objective in watching my group, and the mistakes that we were making and the problems that we were having. And being able to be objective, almost to step outside of myself and say, okay, I'm gonna compare us to Group A. What are they doing well that we aren't doing well? But I didn't start doing that until I started judging, to actually come back to my group and say, you know what? I just told 12 units about their feet, their alignment, their posture, and I'm looking at you guys, and you look just like them. We got to change. Mm-hmm. We got to start doing something different. So my eyes changed tremendously once I started looking at the sheet and trying to look at it objectively, or more as a judge. How would he look at this snare break? Is it too dense? Is it full of technical content? Does it have energy or rhythmic value to it? Is there any modulation to it to make it more interesting? Or is it just ram-a-jam, thank you, ma'am, and it's not interesting? Mm. And I went back and looked at some of my old stuff, and a lot of it was trick, 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 rim shot. And that's not musically interesting. You know, if you're thinking about it objectively. Now, if you're thinking about it like we want to win, you're going to put everything in the book in there. It's like the goose eggs on the score. I told this one group this year, you know, you get to the last, let's say, 8 measures, and the horn line is just doing chord changes, but it's pretty much just hold notes. Right. So it gives the percussion writer, man, you got all this to work with. You can go to town now. You can put all your good. You can get the flam 5s in there, get the chutters and the cheeses, and it turns out to be not musically at all. It turns out to be non-leading. It doesn't make rhythmical sense on the arrival point. It just is a bunch of notes that you threw in to try to be impressive at the last minute. And when you start judging, you think about things like that. You look at your group a little different, or you should. You listen to your group a little different. Are we balanced? Or can all I hear is a bunch of snares out there? You know, do the bass drums, are their splits seamless? Are they smooth? Or is bass 1 and 2 got a timing problem? When you listen with your heart, so to speak, you start to not hear that timing problem. You're like, oh, they get it 2 out of 10 times, so maybe that was the time that they got it. And really in your heart of hearts, you know, nah, that wasn't it, dog. That wasn't it. But you will let it slide when you're not looking at it objectively. But when you can hold your own feet to the fire, so to speak, it makes your group that much better. And I think that was a changing point for my teaching in my later years, because I knew when we were competitive and when we weren't. I knew when the strength lied, let's say, in the marimba voice, and I'm not going to have my vibes trying to do all these god-awful things they can't do. Why do that? I've told plenty of groups, just play that phrase with 2 mallets. You know, you're not fooling me. You playing everything with the 2 mallet for 16 counts, and those kids are struggling to hold on to 1 and 4. Why do that to them? Just let them play with 2 mallets, have a better quality of sound, much better accuracy, and you probably don't get more credit for the musicality of the moment. But as a young instructor, that was me. No, we're going to hold 4 mallets. We're going to act like we're playing this, and we're going to play 1 block chord in the middle of it, and then we're going to continue on with the 2 mallets, and then it's going to be great. No, it's not. So being able to, like I said, set myself aside objectively and say, would you really think that's a better moment for those kids? Are you being fair to those kids by making them hold mallets in their first-year players? You really setting them up for success, or are you just being selfish and not smart as a young instructor? So that's how it has really helped me over the years, and it helped me even in my later years now as a judge, being able to explain that to younger guys who are teaching and say, look, man, I was young and dumb just like you one time. I understand where you are, but I want you to think about this more as a musician and less as a Jedi snare drummer, because that's what you're thinking of your music as right now. And your whole show is all about, you know, I got the biggest one here and I'm going to show it. You don't have to show it all the time, you know? So my later years has really helped me formulate the help and assistance to guide younger percussion instructors on how they can be just as technically proficient, but even more so musically proficient.
Well, that makes me wonder. It makes me wonder how many judges are telling these groups those things. that you described, because it almost feels like it's an unspoken rule to some instructors that, like you picked on the 4 mallet thing and using just the 2 mallets and stuff like that. It's like, okay, you pick. It's like an unspoken rule that's traveling to school all over the country, maybe, that for you to get credit for difficulty, you must do this. But then the judges aren't saying don't, because it's actually hurting you. So I'm wondering how many judges are actually saying that to these, on these tapes, on sheets, or whatever show they're at. Like, because, I mean, that makes sense, but you see it a lot.
That's the weird thing about when you go to critique, you only hear your critique. So you don't know what they're saying to anybody else.
Right.
And correct me on this, Terry, but like in WGI with the system being a open world, it's teacher, counselor, critique.
Critic.
Is that correct?
Yes. Critic for the life. Yeah.
So, critic. So like sometimes I feel like, and we're an A-class group, sometimes I feel like we don't get the teacher part in our critique. We get more of the counselor or even the critique part. Like sometimes I feel like, if I'm an A group, it might be bad, but don't fuss at me because it's bad, and sometimes I feel like you should do this or you should do this. Like, wait a minute.
Like
you're supposed to be teaching me.
Yeah. That's the judge's inability to articulate that particular hat at that moment. And that's a bad thing, because it's so easy to be human when you're judging. It really is. It's so easy, after the 25th group in a class to say, didn't I tell y'all that already? Because you're human, you're seeing like the same thread of mistakes happening, but you have to say it to the 25th group the same way you said it to the first group, with the same enunciation, the same excitement, the same teacher voice that you said it before, and not get to, like you said, the fussing that part. And I think that happens when people aren't good at separating classifications. They meld it into the entire day. And believe you me, they're not saying that to the world class group.
I don't know.
Right.
And that's kind of one of the things that, and I think I like WGI. I like the system. I wish our state would adopt that system classification, but that's a completely different discussion. But, sometimes going in the critique room, you're expecting, okay, why did this happen a certain way? And then they don't give you anything. They're just like, here's a 5-point spread. And you're like, why is this a 5-point spread?
It's like if you don't ask, if you don't ask, they won't say. But it's funny, because even if you don't ask and they don't say, they still have it in their heads. I feel like I feel like what you want to say, but if I don't ask you, you won't tell me. You won't just say it. So it's almost like they need a sheet of 4 points or whatever, and they should just automatically do them when we show up, instead of us asking questions.
Even as an A class group, you can't assume that they know how to conduct themselves in a critique, because they may be a new instructor they don't know what to ask. Right. Like they don't know how to ask the right questions to get better. Because 3 minutes or 2 minutes goes by just like that.
Man.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna get
that's one of the topics in Arizona. They just sent me what they want us to cover, and one of them is how to conduct yourself in critique as an instructor and as a judge. And the thing is, 22 years of doing it myself, going in critique, I developed my own method of getting the information that I needed. But nobody teaches you that as an instructor. Nobody tells you that you need to ask these questions to get the information. Like I said, you go in blind. About the most thing they ask you is, did you listen to the commentary? They ask you that, and they never ask you any other questions. So you have to know how to work that room, so to speak, and ask the right questions to get the numbers, the information that you needed. Like you were talking about the 5-point spread. The best thing about that, and I just happen to have one here, right on the back of the sheet, it lists the spread guidelines. Now, the way I always address that, you say 5-point difference. It says right here that 8 points and higher is significant differences. Is that how you felt between me and the group ahead of me, that there were significant differences? And if there were significant differences, could you tell me a few?
Right. Right.
You know, and it puts the onus on the judge to say, ooh, I put that number down? Oh, wow, I didn't mean that.
It's
like I had to have a conversation with a judge one time, and I said, you know what? You got us in box 3 sometimes. And no, do you feel like we just sometimes know our show? He said, no, I don't feel that way. I said, well, why you got us in box 3 then? Do you not read the back of the sheet? So,
oh my gosh, yes.
Another thing about being a judge myself and then having a competitive unit at the same time is that I'm old enough that these sheets here, I wrote these sheets. I was in the advisory board meeting. We put these sheets together. So it's not like you have more education than I do over these point spreads and these numbers. And that's why I always sent out the rule book to all of the instructors in our circuit. Do they read them? I don't know. Do they look at the sheets? I don't know. But the only way for you to understand the system is to read the system. You know, my favorite lyric by DMX was, always know the rules of the game before you play.
Man.
You have to know the rules of the game before you play. How many Uno fights have you been in? How many spades fights have you been in? Damn it, before you deal the cards, let's get this straight. If we playing poker, what's wild, whatever.
Right.
I need to know the rules before I sit down. Otherwise, I'm not playing. So they give you the rule book. You have to know the rules. You have to know the language. But, yeah, that is a conversation that could go on forever, how to get better information out of your critique. But really, it's about speaking to the sheets because that's what I taught on. You know, looking at this music sheet here, clarity of intent was always the issue that I struggled with because I would write, let's say, 32 bars of a melodic line. And I say, okay, how do I want this effect moment to happen? Do I want to build with percussion by layering voices? Do I want it to be a diminuendo down to like a triangle release? I mean, what are we going to do here? How are we going to create this effect? And then I would fill in the percussion parts that I want. And I say, you know what? Man, the tenors could add right here. And then I could put the bass drums right here. And then 4 measures will be enough. And I've just taken an 8-bar snare phrase that was a snare feature. And now it's become almost a 2D statement. So now where I wanted it to be clear and just snares and the marimbas and the melodic line, I've already muddied it up myself in Sibelius because it sounds good in Sibelius. But then I get in the gym, I'm like, no, y'all too loud. Because I know clarity of intent. I want them to hear the snare break. But me, Mr. Instructor, just dirtied it up with the tenors and the basses and the damn cymbals. They don't need to crash ever. Because that just eats up that sound. And I love my son. I'm gonna tell you, man, when it's time to go to rehearsal, they see me come in rehearsal, they be like, oh shit, he on one today. That's simple. But it was all speaking to, like I said, objectively, if I was judging my group, am I able to hear the voicings that I want the judge to hear? No. So we got to water some things down. We got to cut some things. And that's why I encourage everybody, even if you don't judge, just do some trial tapes. Do some trial tapes for yourself. Yeah. Look at the sheets and try to be your own judge. It'll make you think differently than what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, that is something that I've kind of, like I said, I've taken a lot of stuff just from me, and that's kind of one of the things I've thought about a lot is just like, what's the purpose? Like, there's no point in having a bunch of notes just to have a bunch of notes. You don't need to do that in order to be successful, especially in a class. And I dare say open class, honestly. Just, I've had a lot of friends start groups and they want to go open and or they want to go A and they want to win. So they just go full blast and they're like, why are we getting beat? It's like, nobody knows what you want them to hear. Like it's just a bunch of drums on the floor right now. There's nothing behind it. Then some of that stuff out. Biggest thing I learned, and Will can attest to this, not everybody has to play all the time.
Yeah.
And when I learned how to thin out textures and stuff like that, it opened up a whole new world and allowed for a lot of stuff to happen.
Bass six played on all the impact moments. Like, dude, when it's time for impact, I need you to bring it home. Other than that, shut up.
Got 12 notes the whole show.
Hey, do all the visuals.
All of it.
Let's not even talk about the flood line.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Y'all
God.
just here because your older brother's here.
Oh my
Get back
God.
there.
I had 3 clubs, man. I thought they was gonna kill me or I was gonna kill them. Oh my God.
You just made the line because your older brother's a center snare.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
You knew how to hold the stick. You knew how to hold the stick. Oh my God. Yeah.
So, random question. I just thought about this sitting here. Since you've judged and you've judged basically all over the country, what do you think is the biggest difference between your California and your Texas schools and then your schools elsewhere? Like, what is it doing to allow them to be what seems to be more successful than other groups? You got your Midwest groups and your Southern groups and your, upper Northeast groups that there are a few that pop out, but it seems like consistently your California and your Texas groups tend to have, I hate to say a formula, but something that tends to work for them.
That's pretty much the word. I can tell. I was doing independent open prelims this last year, and it was one California group. And I'm the type of person, when I judge, I don't look to see like, okay, this is, Warren East. Oh, that's Cedric's group. Oh yeah, I got to get ready. I don't. I just wait for the guy to say, you may enter the floor with competition, because before that, I'm still doing notes. I'm still doing wrap up. I'm trying to figure out, I want to place that group before, right up until it's time for me to start with the next group. So it's always a surprise for me sometimes when I see the group start, and I'm like, I don't know if they're from Kentucky or from New York. I don't look, but California groups stick out, and I'm gonna tell you why they stick out to me. It's because of the way they program their shows from an arranging standpoint. I call it a progressive use of space. That's my terminology that I like to put on them, because they use space more than, let's say, the East Coast groups do, where the East Coast groups have more dense shows. Their phrases are more dense. It's more about fast pace. It's more about 200 beats per minute. Well, the California groups are more laid back, and it's more not groove oriented, but it's more about sort of like pentamic meter almost. Da 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 da. And everybody has their place, and their staging is always this. They don't do a lot of front to back. California does a ton of this, just side to side. A lot of turnarounds, a lot of loop-de-loop stuff. But the way they stage and the way they phrase their phrases and the melodic lines always makes them stick out. Like when that group went on, they were on like 5th in the class, and it was a group I'd never seen before, and I think the name of them is Gold. But again, I don't do research saying, oh, Gold's going to be in prelim. I don't care. Bring it. That's all I got to say. But when they started their show, I was like, you know what? This feels like California. And when they finished, I leaned over to one of the other judges. I said, are they from California? He said, yeah, that's Gold from California. I said, okay. But I just knew who they were based on the progressive use of space. The other groups, the programming is similar, but it has a different feel to it. The tuning is also different. California tunes different than, let's say, the normal Texas group. Texas is a little bit more drier. California is always more wet and boxier. The like I said, the choreography and the body stances, you can tell a California group, their second position is different than everybody else's second position. Their step offs are different. Their velocity is written different than a lot of other groups. And that's how they stick out to me. Now, the Texas groups usually are sheer virtuosity from a musical standpoint is what they want you to see and hear. They don't get into clarity of intent issues, but you're going to get some dense statements. You're going to get some, I just lost the word. What do the ice skaters have to do? Compulsory. You're going to get the compulsory from the Texas group. You're going to get fast 16th note run on the marimbas with xylophone mirroring. You know, you're going to get a snare break that has some really good stuff in it. You're going to get a tenor break. You're going to get some bass splits. And you're going to get not too many vertical moments that are hugely big until the end of the show. Everything for them does this the entire show to the end. It's kind of a build. And the other program shows, they're Texas guys, but they write for a lot of other groups. You can tell some of the programming and how it works, who designed that show. You know, you can usually guess right. I can usually guess right if it's, you know, Brian Harmson or Shane or Box 5. I can usually guess sometimes if it's one of their shows. Sometimes I'm wrong. But the program is really strong. And sometimes it's a group that doesn't have that programming, and it's really refreshing. You know, they don't do that compulsory. They do it their own way. You're like, wow, that was pretty cool. So, but Cali, they stick out because they all hang together. They all teach together. They all have the same thought process. And they do some really cool stuff. It's not the best in the world. You know, I'm not going to say that they just got it hands down. They don't, but they do some really cool stuff every now and then.
I always feel like the California groups play with a lot of like touch and finesse compared to some of the others. And not
Rama Jam.
No, they're not going to be in your face, and their shows aren't in your face either. Like I feel like their shows just kind of they'll almost lull you to sleep sometimes, but not in a negative way by any means. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything has its place,
take you there.
And I'll show it to you when I'm ready for you to see it. Whereas some people just design, you know, we're going to do snares first, tenors next, basses. And then we're going to start the rotation over again. Snares first, then tenors, and then basses. And then we're going to have a cymbal feature, and then we're going to do a marimba moment. You know, they kind of program that way. But everybody's stuff is different. But like I said, sometimes it can be refreshing to hear a voice that, man, who wrote that? That was pretty good. And it's just a guy that writes, you know.
I think that was one of my biggest problems when designing a marching indoor group show is like I wanted it to be musical and be a complete package instead of break, break, break for ensemble, break, break, break for ensemble. You know, that formula bored me, and I didn't really care for it.
Well, that's because that's all we.
Yeah. You know, and it's like I can't do this. I'm like, I don't want to write like this. I think that Riverside put Chris on like a 5-word limit. But yeah, man. Zach, Will, y'all got questions? Because I'll sit, like I told you, I'll sit here for
Yeah, we could make this a 24-hour episode.
I'm about to say, yeah. Season 1.
Yeah.
Episode 1 of Terry Sand. Yeah.
Yeah. Terry talk.
It's always fun to chop it up, man, and talk about stuff. I was telling somebody I just judged the Florida State Championships marching bands down in Miami. And I was telling one of the judges, I say, you know, I get a lot out of just talking with other judges about how they see things. Like a lot of the people on the panel were BOA judges. And not that I'm interested in judging BOA, but I always like to listen to the take that the WIN judges have on other groups. Like I say, hey, man, what did you think about this group? Because I had their percussion up. They were really good. What about the winds, you know? And they'll tell me the differences. Like this one lady was talking about, they need to work on their breathing from the trumpets. Like when they take a breath, like the band I just didn't realize that they had a lot of sustained moments, and all the kids took a breath at the same time, which broke the sound. And so talking about stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, I see. So you listening for things like that? Yeah, the individual judges down on the field, and then I talk to the visual guys, like, hey, what you see, man? Because this drum line was smoking. How was the band? You know, because I never look up. We'll be in the van or at the dinner table, and they'll say, dude, did you see that color guard girl take out that tuba player? I'm like, when did that happen? Because I am so zoned in on my job, because I don't want you as an instructor listening to my commentary saying, man, he missed everything. So I'm just like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to be on your kids, whether I'm talking to the concert bass drummer or whether I'm talking to the tenors. I'm going to talk to somebody about something that they're doing at that moment. It could be the finger cymbals. I'm not going to look at the color guard. That's for somebody else to do. I'm going to give you my all on this topic. So it's real interesting. And affirmation sometimes works as well, because I was talking to one of the woodwind judges, one of the on-field woodwind judges, and she was saying that the percussion unit for a couple of these groups were very good, but the level of teaching, and this is something that you have to word real carefully when you're judging, is that a group can have a really strong battery. I mean, they're just way up here, but the front ensemble is like way down here. And having to tell them that on competition day, you need to close that gap over the coming years. Sometimes you can't mess up and say, dude, your battery's smoking, but your front ensemble sounds like a broken ice cream truck. You can't say that. You have people crying. So you have to find an educational way to let them know that to be more competitive, you're going to have to close that gap in the love, because you're giving them a lot of love in the battery, but your front ensemble, you got to bring that up some. And that happens. Hell, I've had groups like that. I've had groups where the front ensemble was all we had, and the battery was playing taps almost, so it happens. But on competition day, the group who has more of the equal teaching is probably going to win out, and that's what happened down there. And I was surprised that you told me that as a wins judge. And it was like, okay, I am getting it right. That's affirmation for me that I saw it right. I saw this group have a great front ensemble and a great battery, where this other group had a battery that was even better than them, but their front ensemble was not happening. So, yeah.
Wow. I feel like we've had this conversation.
Sounds like some stuff I've heard on tapes this year.
Hopefully they articulated it in an educational way, and they just didn't blurt it out.
They did. It just got old. I just got tired of hearing it.
Yeah, I've said it
you guys are so strong. Yeah, I'm just like, I know we're strong, but this is the music tape. Talk about them.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, people ask me why I started judging. We were at a competition one year, and we were playing quite a few egg beaters in a drum break. Egg beaters are 3 against 2.
Yeah.
And the drum judge was like, the third stroke in the left hand is not happening on your French roll or your multiple bounce roll. I'm like, dude, it's an egg beater. It ain't a damn broken 3-stroke roll.
Cut it out.
So I made my point right there. I said, look, I'm tired of these mom and pop judges. I'm going to start judging myself, because my mom always told me, if you think you can do better, then do it. Well, I said, damn it, I think I can do better. So I started judging. Just for the very reason that people could have more information and have a fair chance, because the work that goes into doing a marching season or an indoor season is phenomenal. The kids, I see kids in the lot. I was at the show, and I was walking past a group, and they got the Jesus hands, we call it, the marimbas, with the where they've got calluses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Them kids, they ain't working for you to tell them that they suck. They putting in a lot of effort, a lot of time. The parents have sold all them hot dogs and burgers and things, and you can't be a butthole on the tape, man. You got to be educational. You gotta be able to articulate your point, and your number has to be fair for what you see that day, not just be a butthole about it. And I hate that, and that's why I started judging, so people could have better opportunity to hear somebody give them their props.
Listen.
Yeah, or don't just write good job on your sheet and nothing else.
Listen, for reasons like that.
We spent all summer out there in the sun, and your ass right too.
For you to tell me good job.
Good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For
the only thing on your tape for us to hear is you breathing and chugging Diet Coke.
No,
tell me something.
That'll have me looking for somebody in the parking lot.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because that's the same reason why I wanted to start judging. Because I tell the story all the time. It's like when I was teaching at Logan County, we spent half the percussion camp, and I was teaching the kids how to play traditional grip. So I was like, okay, we're going to learn more than just Stevens grip. So I taught them traditional. And I phrased the whole opening segment of the front ensemble book to the technique. And I mean, they nailed it. I'm telling you, nailed it. And we get to the first show. What people didn't realize is the battery is in the back of the field by the props, facing backfield. They don't move. I get the judge's tape, and the only thing he says is, "I can't wait to see how the drum line turns around without a field commander." It is almost a whole minute of front ensemble, not one word.
I had the same
thing. The whole beginning of
and I did go look for that guy. I found him. He was getting a hot dog at the concession stand, and I was walking his way, and my techs and my other instructors, they caught me and grabbed and said, "No, Mr. Sanders, don't go over there. Don't do it." Same exact thing. Opening of the show, whole minute, 4 marimbas, 4 vibes, bringing in the melody, playing us onto the field, everything. As soon as the snares came in, they had a buzz roll. Oh, snares, that's a great job on that attack.
right to the drum line. Boy,
I'm like,
my kids was pissed.
All these permutations that we played, lateral rolls, we doing ripple rolls, we doing everything.
Telling you, everything.
Dude didn't even look at him. So, yeah, that's why I started judging.
But that stick flip was cool.
Damn, that stick flip, bitch. We sat up here and tried to teach this whole grip to these kids this whole season. That's what you talk about, the drum line and standing backfield?
Oh, I love those skins and double spot.
Yeah. And I've done, like I said, I've done quite a few judge training, and I get the same questions and the same stories everywhere I go. And of course, like I said, I have the same experiences. It's not just me doing judging for 20 years and have never taught. So I understand, I have that empathy for the instructors that I'm not going to be a butthole on their commentary and give them something that they can't work with or write good job on there, and that's all. Or a lot of people just write see tape,
Oh, no. I hate that too.
God,
yeah.
I hate that too.
So,
my sheet looks like a whole essay.
You have to, just as much as I cared about teaching my group and having them be competitive, I care just as much about me giving good information when I'm judging. And when I do this thing in Arizona, it's not going to be me going over the sheets. I'm doing it with Caleb and, I can't think of the visual guy's name, Austin Green. Both of them love to talk a lot, and they will be very technical in their approach, especially Caleb on the sheets, what the numbers mean. That's not my approach. My approach is to you as a human being. Basically saying, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
If a group has to be in third place, don't give them a damn 50 in box 2, even if they deserve it. If they're in third place with a 79, they can be in third place with a 80. or whatever, third place is still going to be third place. It's a circuit show. You don't have to have them and be embarrassed to go to their principal and say, well, I see you guys scored a 61 at the contest. Why is that? Nobody wants to have that conversation with their principal. And there's only 3 groups in the class, and you got the first place group with an 82, second place group with a 75, and your third place group has a 39. Why? You can give them a box number. You can give them a 68 or a 70 or a 75, and they still in third place. If you have something to say to them that's pertinent, put it in your commentary. But don't give them a damn 35. So yeah, that's my whole approach to judging. Be an educator. Everybody listens to your tape, whether you know it or not. Those kids are going to listen to it, the parents. Make your tape like that, like everybody's going to listen to it, including that principal. And just be a better person when you're judging.
Yep.
Man.
Wow. I agree. Well, we're going to have you back at some point.
Yes, for sure.
As you see, I love to talk. So anytime you guys want to hop on, especially talking shop, we can talk this all night.
Yeah.
Anytime you want me to hop on, I am glad to hop on, and send me the link so I can share it on all my social media. Anything I can do to help. I won't run out on the field with the QR code on my back.
We don't even have to Chris.
I need to get back to my seat.
Yeah, I like my job.
What you said.
Yeah.
I do too. What are you talking about? We run out on the field.
Fellas, any quick follow-up questions or anything like that? Chris, I know you've been in and out.
Dude, I don't know what happened. I think I don't know if I got it solved or not, dude. I don't know. I need a new PC. That's what I need to do. This is my excuse to tell Nicole to get me one.
There you go.
So,
Christmas is coming up. I was right. Christmas is coming up.
Yep.
Merry Crisis.
Merry Chrysler.
Chrysler. Yeah.
It's Christmas.
Before we head out, you can find us on all social media aspects. Twitter, while it's still going. I guess it's going to be fun. I don't know.
Yeah, it should be
going
all
on
right.
with Twitter. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and then you can find the podcast on Anchor.fm and Spotify.fm. So come check us out on the Back Hash on all of those platforms. You can find us, and we typically post something on all of them at some point in time. You know what? I forgot to do that button again. I just realized.
Are we live streaming right now? Are we live streaming right now? Let's look.
No,
let's look.
Well, we shouldn't be.
Hello, YouTube.
No, we're not. We're not.
We're not.
We're not. You're fine.
So, all right, cool.
Boy, that was a fun. I woke up and see that. I'm like, so is this planned or?
Nah, that wasn't.
No.
So
I think it's just on the React Studio, so I think we're good. So anyway,
okay.
But Terry, once again, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
For sure.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure. And you will be back on. And we can talk shop or whatever. If you want to get strictly percussion stuff, me and Will may have you on there. Just talk about drum stuff.
If they do a perk talk with them, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Watch a drum video with us.
Man, I could. We might hurt somebody's feelings.
But I'm here for it.
The season is starting up, man. I'm getting excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Last year was a blast, and I'm excited to see what people come up with this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got. By the time this is aired, we'll have our first practice this week. So, kids are excited.
I got to meet the percussion director at. They won Scholastic A this year. They did Medusa
at WGI. Oh yeah. Who was that?
Oh God, I can't think of the school. But I got to meet him.
I actually dug that show.
Yeah, and talked to him about the show. And man, when I saw them at the regional, they had, the first Medusa that came out was a little white girl, and then the second Medusa that came out when she turned evil was a black girl. But they had like the same uniforms on, and the music didn't change. I'm like, dude, man, you got a great product here. When that evil Medusa comes out, you need to dig into main stage and just come up with growls and just have that thing like go evil. And they did, man, and it was off the chain. Off the chain. They changed the second
Clover High School.
Clover. Yeah.
That show was good, man.
He said, man, we listened to your tape about 7 times on the bus. Say the kids have listened to it about 20 times. I got to go back and listen myself because I went off the hinges, man. I love it so much. So,
well, A class, I'm looking at the numbers right now. A class, you like it.
Terry liked the show. Terry liked it.
Harmon liked it a little more, just a little, but, it's hard to go higher than a 99. I can't do 100. I can't do that. I haven't seen a perfect show yet in any caption. That's just me. Now, other people, yeah, but not me. Yeah.
But yeah, but pleasure as always. Just good times. And I'm more impressed with us holding this under an hour and a half.
That's what I was about to say. I thought we were going on 2. I was feeling it.
We could have, but
we
could have, but we gonna be all right. We gonna do all right. So, worth every minute of it though, for sure. So, for Terry, Zach, William, and Chris, my name is Cedric. This has been episode 20 of On the Back Hash.
20.
Join us. Yeah, we can almost.
We can almost.
But hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, share button, and all that good stuff. So for me and you all, stay safe, enjoy Christmas parade, and we will see you guys later. And as always, we are
out.
Dang Saints.